Grow, Sell, and Retire is the podcast for the lazy overachiever. B.D. Dalton, author of True Gravity and Grow, Sell, and Retire, is here to give you his 25 years of secrets, tips, and systems to take your business to the next level. This is your chance to find out what is working in sales, marketing, and running your business. If you stop learning, you stop burning. Now, here's your host, BD, with today's GSR podcast.
Hey everybody, BD Dalton here for the Grow, Sell, and Retire podcast. This is the Retire Inspire 1 series, and today I'm going to be talking with Myles Smith, who is a certified retirement coach. So not a financial advisor, retirement coach. He's had people that were actuaries that have become cowgirls. He's had people that were in high-flying insurance jobs that now rebuild Harley-Davidson motors. He's had people that have gone and started up bakeries, they've done all these things. So they get to their, what he calls, your 20 to 30 years of bonus time. Because it's not retirement. It's only retirement if you're retired or retiring. And I know that if you're listening to the Grow, Sell, and Retire podcast, retirement doesn't mean the same thing to you as it meant to your great-grandmother and great-grandfather, which is you get down for all of your time in the coal mine. You've now come up and you're going to have this paycheck from the company or the state for the rest of your life, and you are done and out. We love being lazy overachievers because I want to help you, as BD Dalton, your host of the Grow, Sell, and Retire podcast, get to your next level, whether your next level includes retiring, whether it includes selling your business, whether it includes just selling more stuff. I want you to sit back and listen to my friend in just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. His name is Myles Smith, and welcome to the Retire Inspire 1 podcast on Grow, Sell, and Retire. Myles, where are you on the podcast from right now?
Just outside of Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm in Birmingham, but not Alabama. So I'm in the Birmingham, UK. So welcome to the program. Today, we're going to talk about what you call the 20 to 30 year bonus round. What do you mean by that?
It's where that we get to use all of the knowledge and expertise, the insight, the managerial intuition that we've amassed over all these years that we've been working to do something important for us. And that 20 to 30 year bonus round comes from the fact that statistically, we will live 20 to 30 years beyond our retirement. Whenever a person retires at 65, it used to be that they would just go out to pasture, so to speak. But now they are looking at a lot longer lifespan, a lot healthier lifespan, a lot more vigorous and energetic lifespan. So that's what they're doing is they've got a 20 to 30 year bonus round.
It's amazing because, governments are knowing this, and they know that they can't afford to keep funding us, and because we're living too long. We were supposed to retire at 65 and die at 65 and a half. And so now people are going 30, 20, 30, even, moving towards 40 years. And people get scared, don't they? So people go to retirement, and it used to be, what did people used to tell you when they were getting retired? Where were they going? What were they going to do?
The one thing that I've heard so many times was, I'm going to go golfing or, as one person said, I have my retirement all planned out. On the days that I'm not golfing, I'm going fishing. Another one said that something about that he had a motorcycle when he was younger. He was going to go buy another one and just go touring the country. But after about 8 to 11 months on average, there is a disillusionment that sets in. And people really start questioning what their retirement is and why that they didn't change some things and plan for it. So,
and especially you find this especially, and I find this in my background, IFA wise or financial advisor wise, is that people that have a decent amount of money were, you call them high flyers, or people that had managerial roles, or their name on a parking space, or, proper business cards, or wore suits. And they're what they did was their persona, and they lose that.
Yes. That is one of the things that brings people to not retiring, is that persona, is that whole identity built around their job. There are 5 really good reasons that people don't take retirement or postpone it up until a point that it's almost too late to do so. One is they fear becoming irrelevant. That is something that is important to people who have had these driven lives and driven careers. They like to be the go-to person. Then the next thing down the line is meaning. We all need meaning in our lives. And I'm a old database administration person from way back when, and statistics, I like statistics. I'll throw that out there.
So you're one of those sick individuals that like statistics.
Yes. Yes, I am.
There's lies, damn lies, and statistics, as Mark Twain said.
You could make them all mean whatever you want to.
That's correct.
But one of those statistics was that a man retiring at 65 without any meaning to his life would not make it to 69. That's
wow.
it. It was. Yeah, 4 years. Actually, less than 4 years, and those were mid-80s statistic, or mid-80s numbers. That 80% of the people men would not make it that long. That's a real serious number.
I think some ladies out there would be because the man was spending too much time at home, and they might have had to have knocked down the stairs, or might have tied their shoes together and pushed them out into traffic because they were driving them nuts at home.
Oh, that does happen. Women push their husbands back out into the workaday life, or get them out of the house after they've rearranged the spice cabinet for the 33rd time.
Yeah, crazy. So people are searching for meaning because their job was their meaning. So when they go in and you're starting to, and you have a very unique qualification, because I'm a registered financial advisor, so with the FCA and things like that, and I had my Series 7, all that stuff. But you have a different certification. So what's the certification that you have as your background?
I'm certified retirement coach.
Cool. I've never actually heard of that until I met you. So what does a certified retirement coach do for us?
We have gone through a very rigorous 11-month course, which has a lot of, and it's not just internet online. There is a lot of in-person interaction with other coaches. And as with the coaching training that I got to start all of this with, you first learn about yourself. You learn who you are, what drives you, why everything matters to you. If something matters, why? And it's not just the answer that we all gave our mothers at one time, which was not the correct answer of because. Or I don't know. Yeah, that wasn't a good answer for my mother, and I doubt that it was for anybody else's. But yes. It just was, we need to know why something means something to us and means what it does to us. So going back to retirement and the retirement coaching, that's where I base mine in, and where I learned that so much about the retirement demographic, if you want, if you put it that way, that there are certain things about people of a certain age. And yes, I've got the gray hair and got the wrinkle lines around my eyes and all of that to show that, yeah, I've been there. I've got the T-shirt and all of that. So, yes, I'm a boomer and I know about it, but that didn't completely teach me all of what I needed to know about coaching other boomers and other or bulgers in the UK. We are the quiet or the silent majority, or as they were once called, but we don't speak up a lot. So it took a lot of effort to understand who I was working with. I mean, yes, I'm a boomer. I know all about what it meant to me to retire, but everybody's retirement is different. It is everybody's perfect retirement is theirs. Not you can be two brothers can have two completely different retirements.
And it's the amazing thing is, and just like in a job, your retirement alters as you go along. When it comes up to, you think you have this plan to do this and spend half your time on the coast and half your time in the mountains and do all this stuff, and then you get there and then there's either grandkids or there's other things or health issues that makes it so you're only doing 2 months in the mountains and the rest of the time on the coast, or now you're in the city. And it's actually like being in a business. Retirement is a whole nother job that you're starting up again for 20 to 30 years. And how do you occupy that time?
And you bring up something there that whenever I was coming out of high school, I graduated in 73, and it was my first thing was that I was told to do for my future was go to the university or go to college. If I couldn't do that, go into the military, but the military wasn't a very popular option at that time. So the next thing was, and I've heard this from so many people, I was told, get a job. It doesn't matter what that job is, just get a job. You don't have to like it. In fact, you're probably not supposed to like it, but just get a job so that you can start paying your way. Well, then all of a sudden you've got this job that you don't really care about, but hey, it's making money for you. And you stumble along for the first 10 or 15 years trying to get your feet into it and really be able to make a success of it. So all of a sudden, here you are 30 years, 40 years down the road, you finally did it. But you spent all of those first years bumbling along. Now, with retirement and retirement transition coaching and transition, and planning for you and preparing for your retirement, you can shortcut all of that down to 6 months of intensive planning, preparing, and knowing what you're going to do. And yes, like you say, every plan needs a backup plan, and that one needs another backup plan because things change. Instead of doing the 6 months in the mountains and 6 months on the coast, you might get a month in the mountains, a month on the coast, and the rest of the time, like you say, in the city. Or I live out here in the country in a suburb of Atlanta. So there's countryside around me, farms and everything. But you might not get to appreciate those sometimes because you're so busy taking care of everything else in life.
So if we go back to this, and you said planning, 6 months worth of planning. So what if somebody was just starting out and they're now 55 and going to plan to retire at 60? What are some of the things you're coaching them to plan about, and maybe one or two things that they could actually sit down and do today if they started to plan their own retirement properly, not just feet on a beach, 6 months in the mountains, 6 months on the coast?
Yes. To go back to the Retire Inspire 1 book, the chapter that I wrote in there, which was all about knowing who you are, what you want from your retirement. And yes, you may not figure that out today. It may take 4 or 5 months in a rigorous program to do so. But figure out who you are, what you want from your retirement, and why. Those right there, you figure that out, and you've shortcut the whole process. And
so if people are very driven and very focused, and they're high flyers, and they have their careers, and they're good at planning, why don't people typically plan their retirement?
Because they believe that they can figure it out whenever they retire. They've seen other people that have just gone off, and well, let me back up on that too. Up until 10 years ago, 15 at the most, retirement was basically when you retired, you got 65, you were out the door, and you did whatever. You were on your own. And generally that was considered you were going to go to either one of the sun states here in the U.S., go to Florida, Arizona, New Mexico, Spain or Portugal, go to Costa Rica, wherever, and that was going to be it. You were just out to pasture. And now that doesn't work. These people have been driven. They don't want to just be put out to pasture. They have pushed their entire lives. They've been goal-oriented, and whenever they get to that retirement age, or they start looking at it, and they start thinking, well, what am I going to do? A lot of times, and I've heard this from a number of people, that they see a gravestone. They see a tombstone in representation of retirement. Instead of planning for it and taking their time to actually prepare. And they don't understand the preparation and the planning, because going back to your question of, as they saw somebody else do it.
Yeah, everybody else, it should be easy. It's retiring when my dad did it, or whatever they say is, when my dad did it, yep, he just stopped working. They gave him a party and a gold watch on the way out the door and thanked him very much, and he just started golfing, or he just started doing whatever, it just happens.
It goes back to the thing of, well, I've always figured this out. I've always been able to do it on my own. I was able to build a career. I built a business. I built a profession, whatever, on my own. As the old saying goes, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. Well, I can do this. Hate to tell you, but a lot of times that's the worst attitude, because what it does is it lengthens the process, and it also makes for a very disappointing and disillusioned person when 2, 3 years, 5 years down the road, they're still struggling, trying to figure out, why aren't I happy? Why am I not seeing?
Myles, what are some of the things that you've seen? And not everybody, it's not one size fits all, one brushstroke for every painting. Mm-hmm. But what are some of the things that you or people didn't think that they would want to do or in retirement that they actually usually ends up being on there? Is it non-exec director roles? Is it buying a company? Is it staying a work for another 5 years? What are some of the things that you've seen that, one, are typical, and two, completely surprised you?
The most surprising, and this one pops to mind real quickly, was a woman who was was a VP of an actuarial department for a company in Philadelphia. She did not think about retirement until circumstances just threw it upon her. Mm-hmm. But she, when I was talking to her, and she said, the only thing what I wanted to do when I was a child, and this is where I go back to with a lot of people because they've built so much of their career and their persona on their career, they don't remember having fun. So we go back to, what did you like to do when you were a child? And she wanted to be a cowgirl. She wanted to work on a ranch and ride horses and herd cattle and do all of the cowgirl kind of things. She's now working on a ranch. She could buy the ranch out in western Colorado, and she works there as just one of the regular ranch hands, as they're called.
Yep.
And she spends a lot of money, of her own money, bringing children from the inner city out to various different ranches in Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, bringing these children out during the summer.
So that's her why. Is that her why? Is that getting kids back to nature so they can enjoy what she's enjoying now after her?
Yes. Another woman, another person, and this was another woman, was a dentist and decided she didn't want to do that anymore. She now rebuilds old pre-1965 Harley-Davidson panhead motors. Now, as an old biker myself, those panhead motors had a sweet sound to them, and that's what caught her attention, was the sound of one of those, and she just decided she wanted to go try it. She took a vacation, test driving her retirement toward the end of working with me. Found out that she really liked getting her hands dirty with Harley-Davidson engines, and now she rebuilds them. I've had people that have gone into baking, taking up and becoming bakers. I've had lawyers becoming vintners, booksellers, with the fact that over half of the small businesses that are built here in the U.S. are built and started by people over 55. These people are going back and using all of that energy, all of that knowledge, and all the expertise, the managerial insight that they've had, as I said before, that they've amassed over all these years. They're putting that to use.
You're a statistician, or you like your stats.
I love them.
If you were to look at and you're a database guy, so if you were to look at your client base, what's the percentage that female to male for your profession and in your book?
It's almost 50-50.
Is it? Wow. Okay.
Yes. The thing of it is that the people that I work with are, as we've said before, high flyers. These are people that aren't, they're not afraid to step out there. They've pushed themselves throughout their lives. And with the coming up in the boomer generation and the way that everybody wanted to make a difference back in from the early 60s on, that was the big thing of, I want to make a difference. And that has kept pushing these people. And because of that, we've had things like the ERA, equal rights for women, I just had a whole list of things just go right out of my brain.
That's typically what happens. So if you're looking at so the funny thing is, when we're going through this whole scenario here, and people are trying to envisage what they wanted, and two of the different people had kind of flashback moments that then took him into the future. Whether it's cowgirl, whether it's probably the baking, that was the time that they were most enjoyed with their mom or dad or whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
So would you say that the very first thing before somebody sat down with you, would it make your life easier and their life easier if they sat down and visualized a couple of things that made them feel good?
Yes.
That before they came to you or a coach like you, if they sat down and the things that made them feel good, either about their job or about their life or about things that they would do, because then you can start to construct that into the foundations of a good retirement?
Yes. Yes, it would. And it goes back to the question of why. Why does that mean what it does to you? And how can you bring that forward into your life and build that, use that to build meaning into your life? It all goes back to the why and the meaning whenever you can build those.
Purpose, why, meaning, it's getting all those things into somebody's head, because then it doesn't feel like work anymore, or it doesn't feel like a chore. So it's awesome. So what are your goals for 2019?
To be on a TEDx stage, for one. I almost made it this year, but earlier for the March 2019 TEDx here in Atlanta, but I am scheduled to be into the 2020 cycle. So
very cool.
I've got a book coming out of my own. In fact, that's what I've been spending a lot of time. When I first began working as a coach, I said I was going to work with 20 clients a week. I've cut that down to 18 now, and really I want to cut it down to 15 just because that makes my life a lot easier. Yes. But I've got a waiting list, so that kind of, that holds me back from slacking off a little bit there, but
that's cool. And where do you come across most of your clients? How do they track you down, or how do you track them down?
Through my website.
Okay.
And I do a lot of I want to get into more speaking. I do a little bit of it now, but I am working on doing more. Cool.
No, it's good promotional thing. So, and what are you reading right now besides writing your book? What's keeping you happy and focused on either clients or life or fiction, business, whatever?
Well, I found a book that is just absolutely wonderful, beyond ours.
Yeah.
But this is by Carmine Gallo.
Yep.
Talk Like Ted. Yes, and it is a wonderful book, and I've done a lot of research on getting my message out there through speaking. But that one right there I love it. So that's what I'm reading right now.
Perfect. It's a great book. I gave it to my 13-year-old son who loves it also. It's a really good book.
My 17-year-old grandson is got one of them also.
Very good. Okay. And then what bit of tech is making your life more fun, easier, or just more enjoyable?
The technology that I have really come to love is the Zoom conferencing. I love being able to talk to somebody and see them, work with them, and just interact right there as though, and I've had a number of people that whenever I first talk to them and they will say, I want to have you face to face. Can we set up live face to face? Well, traveling here in Atlanta it might be 45 miles down from here to downtown Atlanta, but that's a 2-hour drive. Yeah. I don't like doing it.
Yeah,
plus, I'm trying to save as much gas and have as low a carbon footprint as possible anyway.
Yep.
So Zoom puts you right there with them, and I love it.
Yeah, it saves time, saves effort, saves carbon footprint, saves everything else. Zoom's perfect. Obviously, we're talking, 4,000, 3,000 miles away, and everything just works out perfectly. And you can add video if you want to. You can do your screen shares. So Zoom and Skype and video conferencing is just awesome. It's really, really makes everything come together.
It brings the world down to nanoseconds, really. I have clients in Sweden. I've had Norway. I've got someone in Spain right now. Just all over Australia, and you're right there.
Yeah, no, it makes everybody just right on top of each other in a good way, as in we can talk instantly. I've already done my conference with our Retire Inspire in our co-author in Australia, done US now, done UK, all over the place, just did Netherlands. So it just it brings the world closer together and saves travel time. I think everybody that's ever traveled before for their business thinks it's great. Everybody thinks it's great to do that. But then once you're there, you're just working in another city and you don't have your family or your bed or anything else. So
yes,
it's not as sexy as everybody makes it out.
No, and that's one of those things that when I've heard people coming up to retirement say, well, I'm going to go travel and I'm going to get an RV or a caravan and I'm going to go travel. Well, having done travel here in the U.S., land-based for a while, travel is expensive. And not only financially, but it also has another expense that you just touched on. You lose that time with your family and friends.
Yeah, and that's very important. That's what most people, one of those Maslow's, kind of the second tiers of, community. You lose community and you lose friends and you lose all that stuff. So coming into the last minute, somebody's just now tuned in. And we want to make sure that they can go back and say, you know what, this is going to be awesome. I've only tuned in the last minute. I'm going to rewind all the way to the beginning and drop the cursor back and start over again. Myles Smith, what is your top tip for people looking to make it into those bonus years properly? So top tip that somebody can just apply today, right now, something they can do. Top tip.
Oh boy. Plan, prepare, and know, going back to what I've said before, know who you are, what you want, and why you want it.
When you've run into, so plan, people are running into what's typically, if it's not the financial bit, what's the biggest plan hurdle that they come up to that, because financial, if I can't afford it, that's, you have to work on that. What's that second biggest plan that they forget or they run into as a roadblock?
To understand that this does take planning, that retirement is not something that you're just going to bumble into, and it's not going to be something that just happens. Yeah, you've reached a certain date in your life. That doesn't mean that you've reached your best buy date or that you're outdated and outmoded and obsolete. Understand that.
Perfect. No, that's good. It's just trying to go to that next stage, and people don't do it enough. They think it's just a pension that's sit there. That
they're retiring to something, not from something.
Correct. Well, so Myles Smith, thank you so much for coming on and also sharing your Retire Inspire thoughts with us on the Grow, Sell, and Retire podcast. Thank you very much, and hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you, BD, for having me on. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks for joining us on Grow, Sell, and Retire. For more information, tools, or to book one of our team members to work with your team, business, or to speak at your event or conference, visit bartdaltonconsulting.com or email contact@bartdaltonconsulting.com. Buy the book True Gravity on Amazon. If you want to work for the rest of your life, that is your business. If you don't, that is ours.